I cannot tell you the last time that I cooked fried chicken, and someone mentioned fried chicken today, so let's make some fried chicken for supper. I'm going to start off with 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and then you're going to season it with a half teaspoon of onion powder, half teaspoon of paprika, half teaspoon of garlic powder, half teaspoon of thyme, and you need at least a teaspoon of salt. I only added a half, it wasn't quite enough. You're going to mix all your spices with your flour and set that aside on your plate or in a bowl, whatever you want to do that in. Then you're going to trim your chicken breast. I like to trim all the fat edges and the parts that's just not fun to eat. It's kind of chewy, some of those little fat pieces and gristle. So trim all that off, and sometimes you'll actually find a little piece of bone on that edge of that breast. And if it's a good thick breast, I'm going to fillet it in half, just to butterfly it, or just cut it completely in two, and that gives you 2 pieces and cooks much faster. And I did that with the 2 breasts that I had today. Just trim them both up. And when my mom fried chicken, this is actually exactly how she would fry chicken. She didn't do the deep fryer like most people do today, but she would always use a frying pan where she would actually cut it up and have breast and thighs and drumsticks. I don't go to all of that. I just want a couple pieces of breast. I actually do like fried chicken legs though. You're going to salt both sides of that chicken. You're going to turn your eye on to medium-high heat, and in your skillet you're going to add about a half cup of oil. It just depends on how big your skillet is, and you want the bottom of that pan coated really well with oil. Then you're going to dredge your chicken breast in your flour and just coat it really good. Put those aside and just do that to all 4 pieces. When my oil is ready at 350 degrees, I like to make sure that the temperature is just right so that that chicken's not in that oil any longer than it has to be. Before I put the chicken in the hot oil, I'm going to coat those chicken breast fillets again, just to make sure that it all has coated with flour. Got all 4 of those, and then I'm going to set the pieces down into the hot oil very gently. You don't want that oil splattering all over you. And if that oil is hot enough, those breasts will not stick to the bottom of that pan. You're going to cook those chicken breasts until they start to become golden brown, and you can see on the edges where it is starting to cook up on the edges. Then you're going to flip it over. Flip all 4 over, and then you're going to just let that cook until the underside is golden brown. You're going to check the temperature, internal temperature of your chicken. When it is 165 to 170 degrees, your chicken is done, and you're going to take it out and lay it on a paper plate or napkin and drain the oil off. But you don't want to leave it on the napkin or the paper towel. You want to get that chicken off of that as quick as possible and get it onto a wire rack so that it does not become soggy. You leave the chicken on that paper towel, and the crust will become soggy and it will stick and fall off before you serve your chicken. I'm just going to stick this in a 250 degree oven just to keep it warm and crisp while I make the gravy. Now in the gravy, in the same skillet, I drained almost all the oil off. I just left about 2 tablespoons, and then I added 3 to 4 tablespoons of flour. It's the same flour that you dredged your chicken breast in. Get that flour a little bit brown, and then I'm going to add about half cup of broth. You can use beef broth or chicken broth. And I'm going to let that thicken up and add about 1.5 cups of milk. Whisk that until it is smooth. You might want to add a little bit of salt, maybe a half teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of pepper to this. As you're doing this, you want to scrape the bottom of that skillet and get all those pieces of crust up off the bottom. That makes your gravy so nice and yummy. So here's my chicken breast, and I'm going to make my plate. I've got some mashed potatoes and green beans I'm going to add to this. Top my mashed potatoes with some of that gravy and a little bit drizzled over the top of the chicken. So this is how my mom taught me to fry chicken. We don't deep fry it, we just do it in a skillet. So here's a nice clean kitchen. The kitchen is closed for the night, and I am going to go sit down and have something to drink.